And indeed, we're counting down to D-Day, which is December 7. And by the way, it is just 4 days away. 4 days away. And it is showing a bit more of intensity. And we've seen that in the special voting. And we're going to ask the question, are we ready? Based on what we saw in the special voting yesterday. And that there is the big number to focus on. It's 4 days to go. And then yesterday, we got a bit of a dress rehearsal. 131,000 people cast their ballots across the country. And that there is the number. It's a huge number if you put it in the context of the number of people voting, because we've seen the rise. I'll talk about that. But it is just 0.7% of the voter population. It isn't much. It isn't much. And you say, well, this is completely insignificant when you have 131,478 people casting the ballots. But before you come to that conclusion that it isn't much, I want to show you something. Why you can't take this number for granted. And I want to go to my smart wall here just to illustrate the point for you. Why 131,000 people really is a big deal, because we've seen that before in the 2008 elections, and I want to go there in the runoff to be very precise. And this here you see, the map you see here on your screen, is the map of the 2008 elections. It was razor thin, and pay attention to the point. Yes, many said, of course, I mean, the special voting is 131,000, the 0.7% of the total voting population. Pay attention to this. At the time when this vote was cast, in the runoff of 2008, the race was close all over the country. It was close in the Greater Accra region. You see there, John Mills winning that in the runoff by 54%. Nanado was right behind him. If you go to Bono, where it was even closer, John Mills was winning it at the time by some just 51% there. Nanado was right behind him at 48% there. So it wasn't great in terms of the margins and the difference between the two main candidates there. And that is just a story of some of the individual regions. But here's the thing. Let's look at the national picture. And let me call out the sense of what we get from the national picture. The national picture, though, tells a whole different story of how close it was. I'm going to move this away just to illustrate the point. Because if you look at the actual margins there in the actual votes cast, you see the percentage terms of 50.2% for the NDC's John Mills, and you see 49.8%. Instantly, it tells you that something was happening there that was extremely close, right? But it is in the actual numbers that you begin to find why the numbers you saw in the special voting will be absolutely significant. Because if you do the calculation here, where John Mills at the time, he so rests in perfect peace, had 4,521,032 votes against Nanado's 4,480,446 votes. The difference you get if you net off is just 40,586 votes. That was the difference between winning it and losing it in 2008 runoff. We're talking about, as you've seen already in the special voting, 131,000 people voting. That is how Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo lost the 2008 elections by 40,586 votes. So don't pause to say it did not matter. It absolutely mattered. And that is why you've seen accusations of vote buying already. Parliamentary candidates seen in queues, giving food, because it matters. And you know why this matters more? This 131,000 people who voted. Yes, it is just 0.7% of the total voting public. You know why it matters most this year? Because remember what happened in the 2008 elections? It was a runoff. It was the end of John Agyekum Kufuor's 8th year. His second term was over. He's done 8 years and he was about to exit. And as we've seen, at the end of your 8th year, at the end of your second term, we tend to have runoffs. We had it in 2000 when Jerry John Rawlings was exiting the scene. We had it again this year. This year on your screen here in 2008. Again, when John Ejiofor was exiting the scene. This year, we are due for a runoff. If you put all things being equal, including that history I'm just talking about, you have this man there who lost by 40,000 votes, 40,586 votes, about to exit. He's finished his second term. We are due for a runoff. And in runoffs, they tend to be very, very close. And that is why the 31,000 special voters, that number is absolutely significant, and there was a huge fight over it. But another thing that makes it interesting, I want to go back to that big wall there, just to illustrate the point. Because, in fact, we've seen an increase there of 40%. Of 40%. We've seen that in 2020, we just had some 109,577 people voting. This year, we're talking about some 131,000. So even though it is just a 0.7% of the total voting population, it's gone up by 20%, right? So that's another thing to pay attention to. And it could come down to these 131,000 votes, right? Now, another thing I want to show you are some of the key things that has come into play also this year in terms of the special voting and the malpractices that we recorded, right? Taking pictures of ballots. And I illustrated that on my smart wall just to get you to appreciate. People say, but it's just 131,000 people. Why are we having irregularities? Because both parties, they know that we are possibly due for a runoff this year, and it's going to be raised a thing, and you need to get an advantage anywhere you can find it. So we're seeing people taking pictures of their ballots. What else have we seen? We're also seeing parliamentary candidates sharing and providing lunch for EC officials, sometimes even people in the queue voting, when we know it is treating, it is banned by the law, it is unlawful for you to do that. We've seen that the law is very, very clear that no influencing within 500 meters to the polling station. It's clear, it's written there, and yet it's happening. Why? Because the contest this year is going to be really exciting, really close, and you must find an advantage wherever you can find it. The law is very clear, and yet the parties were doing it. Another thing that we've noticed this year is that, again, what the law is saying is very clear. No offering of food, drinks, and also gifts to sway votes. But the candidates were doing it. Another key thing that we've seen in the law is very, very clear. If you come to the Ayawaso West, where we've seen this play out this year, these two individuals are head-to-head again. And if you join us on the countdown, we told you why this is interesting. But the allegations there are very clear. We've seen that John DeMello had already gone ahead and filed a petition with the special prosecutor because his accusation is that Lydia Forsing there had shared food to people in the queue. Actually, the people we're talking about are special voters. We're talking about the members of the security services who were in the queue and were taking food from her. It is wrong. I just showed you what the law says about that. And so he's gone to the special prosecutor to file a complaint. Engaging with the voters in the queue and the line to give them food is another key thing. We've had Shraj, for example, tell us that that is wrong. And Mr. Wethal, you see there in your shot, has been unequivocal about this. And the law is very clear on this because this is treating. It has happened because both parties are very, very aware of how close this is going to be. The difference this year could be as close as the 2008 elections, where 40,586 votes was the difference between winning that election and losing it if it goes to a runoff. We're going to put this in context, and that's a fundamental question. So, are we ready? Are we ready for December 7? Stay with us. Stay with us here on PM Express. My guests are seated for a conversation. This is official countdown with 4 days to go. We've got an opportunity for a dress rehearsal. Was it even a dress rehearsal, considering there's a tiny little percentage of people who were voting compared to the total voter population, some 0.7%. But for the politicians, it matters a lot. But as far as testing our preparedness, did it really matter? We'll get a sense from our guests on that. And PM Express is always brought to you by Syntex Stangs. It is strong, it is tough. Academic Times, and also Pepsodent Cavity Fighter Toothpaste. Academic Times, as you know, is an incoming graphic and online publication aiming to collaborate with university authorities and students to ensure that student research is published in some reform. But then you have Syntax Tanks asking you if you're ready for that biggest giveaway that Syntax Tanks is offering now, because it's, as you know, visiting 15 communities, giving them free water. It is to say thank you for making us #1 Syntax Tanks. It is strong indeed. And for beneficiary communities, you can get them on their social media platforms and nominate their community for them to go in and help them out. And now, of course, the toothpaste cavity fighter is the one I recommend for you before you sleep brushing your teeth. My guest joining me in the studio, you know him, is a man who's been here before, but he has been a thick of affairs when it comes to the election for the NDC. And that Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, the Deputy Director of IT, Elections of the NDC. Rodalsei Afol is a Senior Research Analyst at Codeo and the Secretariat. And then you have Evans Mensah, who is the Director of Election and Research, MPP. And I want to start with that controversy that erupted with Lydia Forcing, a senior Q. She denied it at first, but we know the petition now has been filed with the OSP, Lydia Hassan. Petition has been filed now with the OSP for them to look into this. And I want to bring in Tanko. Tanko, so tell me, we all saw the videos. She denied it at first. You filed a petition. What are your expectations? What are you expecting from the OSP?
Very well. Evans, let me say good evening to your cherished viewers and to you yourself. Clearly, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I was happy in your intro when you referred to the relevant portion of the law that debarred as we, the politician, from doubling into what she did yesterday. Clearly, this was vote buying. You can see it was clearly vote buying. So
that's her there in your shot. She's in the blue there.
It's terrible. She's in the blue. I mean, compromising the process.
Yeah, the blue cap and the white top.
Yes.
The white top and then the blue trousers.
That is it. Clearly, this is terrible. This is not good for our democracy at this time of our development. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why can't we allow the process to go on smoothly? Why do we have to mobilize resources that are needed to develop the country? In fact, she's a minister of state. Mm. And so if we say she's using incumbency and to do what she's doing, that is not good enough. It means we are not going to have the best of leaders that we are expecting.
So what's your expectation? You filed the petition.
Well, our expectation is clear. We want the OSP to investigate this thoroughly and call her to order.
Is there even anything to investigate?
Yes, of course, because what she's doing is to, the best I can say, is to corrupt the process.
But it's intention too, right? Because the law will look at not only the act, but the mensura, the thought behind it.
Of course, it's very clear. Her intention is to corrupt the process.
How do you know that?
Why
you're not in her hair to determine that.
No, what is the essence of doing that?
I mean, she just felt the security officers were taking it. Maybe they were hungry.
No, I'm saying it's corrupting the process. Anybody who is to corrupt a process, this is what happened. The people are hungry. In fact, Ghanaians are hungry. Things are very bad in this country. So everybody.
You mean for angry or hungry?
Look, one, they are hungry. Two, they are angry. The hunger is just too much in the country, and it's leading to a lot of anger. And so, if this is the way they can get back the loot that she and her government,
it's just food. It's just food.
Is this the first time she's contesting election? Did you see that when she first contested? When she first contested through that by-election, which resulted into bastardizing the democratic culture of Ghana. The second one she contested in 2020, did she go and provide food for all of them? But now she's not a minister of state, so she has a lot of resources, government resources. She can afford to go and spread the money and buy food to distribute to all voters in the queue. This is compromising the process.
So you want this investigated?
Should be.
And then what do you want at the end of that? If she's found guilty?
The law should take its own course. That's what we are looking for. Because if we don't do this, she's setting a dangerous precedent. Other politicians will follow suit.
Stay with me. Let me bring in Evans. Evans, you condemn this, don't you? Please unmute for me, Evans. I can't hear you. This is something you condemn? On the face of it, the law is very clear.
Yes, Evans, thank you for having me. Good evening to your viewers, and I will extend same to Dr. Rashid Tanko. I think for what you've seen, the incidents in Ayawaso, West Woburn, we've seen the video. You've asked some cogent questions. We will leave it to the investigative body to look into it. You've asked, what was the intent? In Ayawaso, West Woburn, there were 935 people who were on the ballot. At the end of the exercise, 829 of them went to the polls. And if Rashid wants to escalate this as a way of satisfying his ego, that is up to him. But we'll wait for the OSP or whichever agency to go into it.
Yes, I know you say you'll wait, but on the face of the law, this should not have happened. You are a party, you pride yourself in the rule of law. You must first take a stand on this matter. In fact, I recall very clearly, in one of your internal elections, you held a press conference, and the General Secretary announced to the world that within the ranks of the MPP and the delegates, you forbid anybody providing food. I remember very clearly. That is what is happening there, as you saw your candidate, your parliamentary candidate, there giving food. Even measuring it by your own internal standard, this barest minimum deserves a condemnation from the MPP, does it not?
Yes, though, our internal elections, and we still stand by the position we took as a party. It was an internal election that we knew our delegates, which are officers of the party, enough provisions have been made to take care of their accommodation, their transport, and their feeding. We therefore said, in order to ensure that we provide level playing field, we don't expect any contestant to provide food for any of the voters or delegates. In fact, we were in a very serious conversation with the police service to ensure that on the voting grounds, nobody can even vote and remain within the voting arena. And so, yes, we made sure that our internal democracy was deepened by some of these guidelines we ruled out. But
Yeah,
I'm saying that...
And yet your candidate is doing exactly the opposite.
But you asked...
In the national election.
Will we be able to assess the intent? Please. I think that where the case has gotten to, if it is in the hands of the OSP, we leave it and not pass judgment. That's where I want us to leave it.
Let me bring in Rhoda. Rhoda, what's Kodeyo's position on this matter? And I know, Kodeyo, you've been doing pre-election monitoring, and your pre-election report, the last time I checked, actually picked up on vote buying, abuse of incumbency, etc. What do you say about what we've just seen there today?
Good evening and thanks, Evans. I think this is why I want us to try and broaden the scope of the conversation, right? So yes, we've seen the videos about Ayawaso West Wogan. Yesterday, Kodeyo also had about 216 observers deployed for this exercise in various constituencies around the country. Now, there are a few similar things that Kodeyo observers also picked from other constituencies across the country, at least about 6 or so constituencies where we observed other similar related issues, instances where people are, say, taking photographs of their ballot because they say that there's a promise made to them that they'll be able to show that they will be able to receive something. Instances where monies were being shared in a couple of constituencies that our observers reported from. So I think that there's a bigger issue than just our Ayawaso West Wogan, and I think we should be able to address this. Now the issue is what has happened, what does the law say, and then moving on from here, what do we do, and especially looking ahead, looking forward to December 7. What are we going to the elections with, right? So if you're looking at the law, it is very clear that within a certain perimeter, certain conduct is not supposed to be tolerated. And I can read that for all of us, right? that within 500 meters of the polling station, you cannot be giving out certain things, material inducement, food, refreshment, and all of that. So
it's as clear cut as that. It's like day and night. There's no gray area all in that.
Exactly.
500 meters is exact. Food is mentioned. And look at her proximity to those in the queue. And this is a clear violation, even before we heard from the special prosecutor. I know they say, oh, let's wait for the special prosecutor to come in. But this is as condemnable as it gets. We may have lost Rhoda there. We'll try and reconnect with Rhoda. But that is really on the face of it, what it is. But there's another fundamental question. There are police officers. These are security personnel. They are supposed to police the polls. And they were themselves complicit in the violation of the law that is very plain. Pause for a second and think about that. These officers will on election day be across the country policing the poll. They will be enforcing that law I just read to you, that within 500 meters to the polling station, you can't share food. They must enforce that. But they themselves were in a queue accepting the food. Rashid Tanko, that is the irony. What we are talking about here?
Well, clearly, that's why I said the one who compromised them is the one who should be held responsible. These people didn't ask for the food. They didn't ask for the money.
But they took. They are complicit. They took the food.
Evans,
they should have rejected it.
Evans, the country is hot. People are hungry and angry. Maybe their formula for the day was 010. Or it's going to be 011. And somebody has provided them to fix the formula for them. They will readily take it. As we speak now, they are corrupting the system to the extent that, look, this election that we are going, the amount of money that has been pumped into the soul. We have seen videos, money is being carried by aircraft by the military to the north.
No, you have no evidence. You have no evidence to support that.
Evidence is there.
But where's the evidence?
Even one, they've arrested somebody for taking the videos. It's in Garoom. Which evidence?
I haven't seen any evidence that somebody's carrying.
I'm just giving you evidence that in Tamale,
we're speaking to evidence, ocular evidence is in front of us. Let's stay there.
This one is evidence. You show the picture, him redistributing the food. Is that not true?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm saying there's also another one. You want to?
I haven't seen that. I can't vouch for it.
Maybe that's why I can defer that one for you. But I am saying that the level of corruption in this country has reached crescendo. And that is why I'm saying that what they are doing, they are corrupting the people. These are security people who should know. But I'm saying that the situation in Ghana has called for it.
Okay, stay with me. Rhoda is back. Rhoda, you're making a point when we lost you.
Yes, I'm sorry about the loss in connection. So the point I'm making is that, and as you emphasized, certain basic things are clear, right? And so at this time, I would expect that we have the police service communicating something to the Ghanaian public about measures being taken to address this. Because this is taking place, this election was just for about a little over 300 polling stations. Now, for December 7th, we are looking at about 40,000 polling stations. What is the message that we are sending out there, right, to the various activists, to the party supporters, to candidates, all the numerous candidates throughout the country, and what they may likely be indulging in? So it is important that we address this matter as quickly as possible without any further delay. If the police is engaged in any investigation, I think that information should come to the public, right, so that we are able to have a clear mind as to where we stand on this matter, that this is not something that we can tolerate in our democracy, and this is something that on December 7th we shouldn't expect from any political party.
But Rhoda, here's the irony. When we lost you, I made the point, and I want to pull that to you. You see the members of the security agencies there in the queue. We know why they are voting, why they voted yesterday, because they will be policing the poll on December 7th. They will be enforcing the law that says that 500 meters to the polling station do not share food. And they themselves were in that queue taking the food. Then when they were supposed to be enforcing it, right? Isn't that the biggest irony, the biggest challenge going into the elections? And I make this point remembering that in one of the elections recently, we saw a member of parliament who was caught on camera giving money to an EC official, and there was a police officer standing right there and watching on while this happened. That is a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed before Saturday.
Exactly, Evans. That is very unfortunate, and it's very troubling that we see uniformed men, security agents being involved in this. And I will confirm that for some of the reports that Korea Observer sent, we had similar instances where security personnel were involved in some of these tendencies. Now we have to be able to distinguish between the conduct of individual police officers or security agents and the police as an institution. So this is where the leadership of the police administration have to rise to the occasion to say, yes, even if we have seen their men in uniform being involved in this is not what the service stands for, and that the service is still there to enforce laws. And so we need to be able to separate these issues. So I think that the call is still out there to the police service to come out on this matter and to clarify issues for us in terms of where we are on these matters, because we are in day 2 after this event. I don't think we have heard anything from the police administration. I've heard something from Shraj. I've heard something from the special prosecutor. I'm not sure I'm aware of what the police service has said so far about these incidents that we have seen.
Okay, and I want to move away from this now because there's a bigger question around. So if we're using this as a dress rehearsal, yes, I know it's just 0.7% of the voter population. Did he give us an indication where we are in terms of our readiness for December 7? Evans, what's your verdict on that question?
Well, thank you very much, Evans. I think that as a nation, we are ready for December 7. But just to let you know that we also have Thursday fit for our brothers and sisters who could not participate in the early voting, those in Western region and Eastern region, due to some challenges that necessitated the difficult decision the EC took.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we will look at something on Thursday. But for us as New Patriotic Party, we've been never ready. Even if we're going to go to the polls tomorrow, we are hopeful. And we know very well that we'll come out of this election as victors. We've done enough, our presidential.
Yeah, I'll come to the personal.
Come again?
I'll come to your party's preparedness, but I want to still assess the ECs. You're happy with where the EC is currently, with, of course, we saw what happened across the country, and it's largely flawless, with the exception of some of the few areas where they had challenges, but largely was flawless in terms of the way they carried this. But of course, there's 131,000 people voting compared to some 18 million who we expect to turn out to vote.
So Evans, until Thursday, you still not have all the 131,000 plus voting. Yeah. And even if we check from yesterday, massive turnout, above 85%. And so and if you've had this done successfully, we expect that we won't have anything different come Saturday. For us, we've always said that let all stakeholders go by the rules of the game. Let's respect the law and let's comply. And Ghana will be the ultimate winner. And we will always stand by. You know the New Patriotic Party. I mean, if you could quite remember, in 2020, when our presidential candidate, the then sitting president, was on the number 1 on the ballot, and it took a very bold ballot issuers to turn him off the ballot. The New Patriotic Party still didn't cause any mayhem. We only made our case to the EC. The EC issued statement to discount such ballot. And so this is the New Patriotic Party. We know, Evans, we know very clear in our mind that victory is on our side. We will not do anything untoward. So if we have to condemn any action, the New Patriotic Party will not hesitate to do so. But if
this action is not one that you want to condemn.
I'm saying that if it is in the care of the appropriate agency, why pass judgment?
Okay, Tanko, you must applaud the EC for that organization conduct of the special poll. And even in the lead up to Saturday, they're spotting challenges. They're swift to deal with it, including the defaced ballot that led to the suspension of the voting, social voting in the 2 regions. The EC is ready, is it not?
Evans, that's not the case.
What is the
That
case?
is not the case. In fact, it wasn't rosy as you are looking at it. Yesterday, if not because we had to hold back our anger, it would have stared in the face of Ghanaians.
Why? What happened?
I'll give you an example. I was in Ashanti region on Sunday for an activity.
Okay.
And you know, the special voting took place yesterday. Before that, a day to the special voting, we have an exercise we call ballot distribution, where they will bring all the ballot boxes for materials meant for the election day are put into the ballot boxes. Registers, the pink sheets, the BVDs, the validation stamp, all these things are put into the box. And then they are sealed. When the EC put their seals, political parties are allowed to also put their seals on each of the boxes, going to each of the polling stations before they are moved. I'm sure you are aware of this. This is a normal practice. We do it from 92 up to now. I've been in this process all along. Now, yesterday, on Sunday evening, the Ashanti Regional Director of Elections, Electoral Commission, gave orders to all the district directors not to allow NDC to put their seals on each of the boxes.
He did that.
I'm telling you.
And you know this how?
That is a question. That is a question for the gods.
No, it's for you. You are alleging that he
I'm
gave
not
an
alleging.
instruction.
I am saying he gave instruction.
Yeah, were you there? Did you hear
I
him?
was there.
And you heard him say that?
We spoke.
And he confirmed that he told them that
He
NDC
confirmed.
should not put the
Listen,
seal.
Evans, he confirmed and told me that why? So if we are having 400 ballot boxes, are you going to put all seals? And I told him in his face that if you bring 1 million ballot boxes in, I will put 1 million seals.
But that's what the CI says.
That is what it
is very
We
clear.
must do it.
Yeah.
So what we did was that when he was becoming stubborn, we had to call Mr. Tete. You can call Tete. And Bossman Asari, I called them at the same time and told them they should call the officer to order. Otherwise, it's going to jeopardize the election for tomorrow.
And what happened after that?
They had to call him.
So you
When they
attached your
called
seal.
him, he now backed down and said, okay, well, by then he has sent this information to the districts and they prevented our people.
Okay, you spoke to him. Assuming what you're saying happened, because I don't have an evidence that it did happen, could you attribute that to just ignorance? Maybe he didn't know?
A whole regional director of elections? You are talking to a regional director of electoral commission, not a district director.
But,
You assume that this is an experienced officer.
knowing the NDC, if this has really happened, you would have made a lot of noise about it.
That was the night. I was catching a flight and we had a banter for almost 20 minutes on phone. And I had to cut him off and say, this man, if I'm to follow him, I have to escalate this matter to the bosses. And that one...
So you resolved it at your level?
At that level, when we resolve it, some of the district couldn't get his response again because they were working under instructions from him.
So you're saying that we went into the polls yesterday with some of the boxes without your seal?
Our seals on them. Good number of them. We thought that was enough. Yesterday morning, Evans, the CI 127, is very clear about the statement of polls, what we call the pink sheet. The law says that part A and B of it must be filled before voting starts. It's a normal practice. The part A is talking about the materials. You take stock of the materials that you are going to use for the election. Part of the B talks of validating stamp. You must fill the validating stamp number so that the party agents there will all take stock of the validation stamp number. So that when it gets to sorting and they see a stamp which number is different from the one on the pink sheet, then that becomes a foreign material to put it aside. This same regional director ordered that this validation stamp should not be filled on the part B, part of it, and it should not be given to our political parties, agents at the place. This is the regional director I'm talking about.
Ashanti Region.
Ashanti Regional Director.
Did you report this to his superiors in Accra?
I reported it again and told them that, Mr. Tete, this is your man. The peace accord that we signed, he's going to be the #1 person to jeopardize the peace in this country. Who is giving him that orders? That he can just arrogate some powers to himself that he doesn't have.
Okay, just stay with me. Just stay with me. Evans, are you aware of this?
Well, Evans, thank you very much. I mean, the guiding rule is the CI 127. If you look at Regulation 31, it mentioned sealing of ballot boxes. Before the ballot left the printing houses in Accra, all the bags were sealed with parties, seals, and all other stakeholders. From the regional armory to the district, same was done. Nothing stops any party from doing same if it has to move from the district police office to the polling station. And even before the start of polls, the ballots must be sealed by all parties involved, unless you don't have a seal. And Evans, that's what you ask. You can de-escalate this or you can escalate it because the CI is clear. But I've heard Tanko running around too many times on this small issue. And I will say that the NDC's problem is Dr. Tanko and Dr. Omane Boama. Simple issues that are resolved at IPAC level. They will be presenting it as if heavens must break loose. And it's so interesting. You don't know how they appreciate this whole electoral game. Simple issue. You have seal. It is clear. Read it to the presiding officer. He must appreciate it. What is the problem with this?
Yeah, Tango?
Well, I'm saying that these are officers who are supposed to implement the law. I should come and teach him now. He knows that the CI is very clear that allow seals on the ballot boxes. He says we shouldn't put our seals there. He told his officers across the region that they shouldn't allow NDC to put his seals. What of the validation stamp? What was his motive that it shouldn't be put in there? Yep, if we say he was preparing the ground to rig the election by making sure that people don't know the validation stamp number, we had to battle up to 11 a.m. Bossman and Tete told me that, in fact, Banobio was with them. They will take a decision on it. They don't understand what the man, his motives. In fact, that was a statement. I said, why are we continuing to be telling your bosses to call you to order? Why?
So beyond this concern, what do you plan to do about the Ashanti Regional Director?
Look, that one alone, we are talking about 47 constituencies.
I know.
Very huge.
Beyond the concern, it was resolved very quickly.
It couldn't, because about 10 to 11 of the constituencies.
I guess my question is, so what is the NDC planning to do beyond the complaint?
Oh, very well. We reported it, of course. In fact, we made it.
So you're happy with the way it was dealt with?
Yes, the way to some extent, because that validation stamp matter, Odotobiri, they didn't give it to them until the end of the exercise. We reported this one to the international community.
Evans.
We made it.
Yeah, yes, Evans.
This is not.
Please let me make a quick intervention.
Yes, Evans. Tango, just a second, yes.
The materials that were moved from the district office to the constituency center, you only have to take serial numbers of ballots that were moved from the center to that polling station. And we all have the ballot statistics that for this particular voting center, these are the number of registered voters. And when you work it out, you just have to find out. Your agent must follow the ballots from the armory to the polling station. And Evans, these are elections that were conducted at district capitals. In few constituencies that will have two centers because of the numbers exceeding 750. And so I think that some of the issues, it is the same people who must de-escalate the tension that will come up or the issue that may have arose as a result of some disagreement. And I think that at all times, even in IPAC, we do make reference to CI 91 or 126 as amended and CI 127. But sometimes issues that are resolved and some people want to present it as if there's no way to resolve some of these things. It creates unnecessary tension. But you hear in the language of the NDC that at any point in time, there are arrangement or scheme to rig elections. Evans, in two regions that there were no special voting last Monday, Eastern region and Western region. These are MPP strongholds. But we said we will monitor the chain of events and we'll make sure that we will go through this exercise being very vigilant, because the NDC, the very thing they will be telling you that others are doing, are the same thing they will be doing.
Okay, I need to take a break, but I need to get him quickly, just a minute to respond, and I'm going to take a break and return to Rhoda.
Evans, I didn't get my good friend intervention here. We are talking of yesterday in the morning, a CI who says that field A and B before voting starts. Then you order your officers that when they are filling the A and B, part of the B, they shouldn't fill it. They should leave it. And that they shouldn't feel it, and also not allow the political party.
His point is that the NDC's approach should be de-escalation, not escalating.
Who should de-escalate? The voting is ongoing in the morning. It's about to start.
And that in the two regions that has been postponed, is there
the two regions who messes? Is it not their own behavior? It's the behavior of the state security and all that. That messes it up. And I was saying that matter, you see, we might need a whole time to discuss it because they know. At the IPAC, were they not calling for all the ballot papers across the country to come by Evans and his group? That's what they were calling for.
Coming to do what?
To bring it back and reprint everything. They didn't want their defeat to come early. They wanted to defer their defeat.
Okay, I want
to defeat them come December.
I want to take a quick break. When I return, I would bring in Kodeo's Rhoda on the question of, okay, so what do we do between now and Saturday to fix those challenges that emerged in the special voting? Stay with me. And they're still live on PM Express. And I want to bring in Rhoda. Rhoda, so we have a few days to correct what we've seen as challenges, right? What must the Electoral Commission, what must the parties, what must the security agencies do to get us ready for December 7 on Saturday?
All right. So, Evans, let me just go back to the earlier issue of people taking photographs of their ballots, about distribution of food and all of that. I think there's room for the NCC, for the Electoral Commission to step up voter education in this respect, that this is not supposed to be the case. And so people should reject food that is distributed to them. And so basically we have to step up on voter education, but looking at the operational aspect of the voting itself, of the elections, I think so far with the special voting, there was quite some improvements. If you compare it to previous voting exercises, some of the major challenges that we've confronted with a lot of people not having, not being able to locate their names in the register and all manner of issues. I think this time around, the fact is that we had some of those issues, but the scale it was quite low, and so I think that's a good thing for us. But of course, special voting took place in just about 320 or so, a little over 300 polling stations. We are going into an election in which we are looking at over 40,000 polling stations. So the scale is very different, and so we might not expect the same thing. It probably might be better, but I think the point for me is that we all need to have an open mind going into the exercise, starting with the Electoral Commission. If there are any genuine challenges, they should be able to communicate that clearly to their stakeholders, to the political parties, to observers, to the Ghanaian public. And also for the parties, I think if they see anything that is a bit challenging for them, we should be able to have an open mind of communicating. Sometimes this idea of being so suspicious about each other, I think, doesn't help so much. Yes, they should be on their guard. They should ask questions. They should interrogate issues if things are not going the way they expect. But as they do that, I think we also have to be open-minded that things could genuinely go wrong in one way or the other, given that this is an election being manned by human beings. So where there are problems, I think we should take our time to understand the situation, listen to the Electoral Commission to see if what they're saying is making sense or not before we add up our own scenarios to make our own judgments and all conclusions. So really the call is to all of them, to the Electoral Commission and to the parties and candidates and their agents as well.
Okay, and just before we wrap up, Tanku, where will you be on Saturday?
Please. Because the victory, in fact, route has started. I can tell you.
I see, already.
Yesterday. I mean, the victory.
That sounds complacent to me.
No, we are talking of complacent. I am telling you, we have worked for it, and I can assure you, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is winning this election one touch. The least he can get is about 54%. In fact, it's so clear. It's so clear, even today.
Is that what your internal poll is telling you?
Look, I am telling you that.
That sounds like comfortable lead.
No, not comfortable lead. We are telling you that Ghanaians want change, and the change is coming for them. Yesterday, it was demonstrated. I can tell you, I've been in polls since 1992. I've done it severally. And the demeanor of the voters yesterday, the security agents, clearly shows that they wanted change.
Okay, and
it was very clear
Evans,
that John Dramani Mahama is going to win this election massively.
Evans, where will you be on election day?
So I vote in my hometown, Bonso.
Okay.
But I mentioned that the NDC's major problem is Dr. Tanko, and you could sense that from his submissions. So for NDC, they started this whole issue of they've won the elections with a certain percentage they gave to themselves, around 60%. They keep on dropping, and now he's saying 54%. We live to see. For us, we expect that on Saturday, the good people of Ghana will go to polls and peacefully exercise their franchise. A decision will be made. At the end of the day, victory will be that of Ghana and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Okay.
I'm saying so because Evans.
Yeah,
Evans.
unfortunately, just run out of time on this. You made the main point, which is that you believe Bawumia will win, I guess.
Definitely.
He says,
But
he says 54%. Yours is what?
Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia will win the election massively.
Okay.
They don't have.
Okay. Massively. Okay.
And they are going to lose.
Gentlemen, the next time I see you, the elections will be over. One person will be heartbroken. One person will be jubilating.
Evans, you will be seeing
Rhoda,
NDC government in power.
Rhoda, enjoy the rest of your evening. All of you, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much.